We're here to make sure that no veteran, if we could find them on the shelf, will be forgotten.
Aim! Fire!
We become family for those that have none.
Aim! Fire!
I've seen times when it drew tears to veterans' eyes to know that these guys are finally getting their honor by giving them an honorable burial. And just the honor of being involved with giving these veterans an honorable burial, that is monumental to me.
New Jersey Mission of Honor is a culmination of primarily Vietnam veterans as well as civilians who have discovered that there are men and some women who have worn this country's armed forces uniform that have lived full lives and have since deceased and are sitting on shelves in funeral homes all over the state of New Jersey, probably the country. They don't deserve to be there. We provide a full military honor burial. And that's the reason we exist.
Well, it started up around 4 years ago when we heard about veterans being laid in funeral parlors for 40, 50, 60 years. And it came from another state that we heard this. So a few of our chapters were interested in it, and we started to check it out, like what can we do about this? And like everything else, it's the law. The law in New Jersey was different. We had to change the law. So we had to go to the House of Representatives, present our own law. We got that passed, and we had to go to the Senate. Then in May of 2009, right over here in the Commit Center, Governor Corzine came down and signed the bill, allowing veterans organizations throughout the state to claim veteran cremains, providing we have the proper identification and paperwork.
When we sent out the letter of notification, what it is we send a letter out to the next of kin to determine whether or not they are aware that they have an uncle or father or a relative sitting on the shelf in some funeral home. Now, the law states that if that letter comes back, address unknown, or it hasn't been received by anyone, at that point, and only at that point, we go to the funeral director and say, you can turn those remains over to us, we'll give them an honorable burial. Roman Needlewitz and Fran Caruso got together and got this law passed through the legislation in Trenton. That gave us the power to go to funeral directors and request their support in regards to turning abandoned remains over to us for burial.
In order to be qualified to get into Brigadier General William C. Doyle Veterans Memorial Cemetery, we need to have proof of service, obviously. We need to have a signed death certificate. We need to have a signed cremation order. And we also have to have proof that we tried to contact the next of kin. When there is family involved, when we do discover family, it's hands off for us. We become family for those that have none.
As we start doing this project, we're finding out that almost every funeral home has cremains. We've covered about 340 funeral homes right now. We've covered over 1,800 cremains that we've researched. Out of the 1,800, with today's burial, this will be 43 that we've buried, and over 125 that we've reunited with family members that had lost contact with their relatives, like their great-great-grandfather, their great-uncles. So it's a wonderful feeling when you're handing a family member, like say a great-great-grandson, you're handing them the urn and say, here's your grandfather. And like they break up a little bit, you know, they start getting a little teary-eyed because they've been looking for him for like 45 years. They don't even know where he was. So we do give a closure to family members, which is very well taken for us because we get to see people firsthand. But this is another avenue, burying them. We finally give them a proper military burial. We finally give them the rights that they belong, that they should have gotten as veterans, which never was there. So
the only difficulty is getting into funeral homes, because most every funeral home has cremains of some sort or another. Not all veterans, but there is a level of trust that needs to be overcome.
I mean, I've seen a funeral parlor up in Teaneck, Matthew Lieber. He went to books that he had dating back to 1870. They're in that old-fashioned calligraphy writing. It takes 10 minutes to figure out who it is, but he took hours, and he gave us 7 World War I veterans that were lying on shelves 60, 59, 70 years. He's got cremains up there, 7 of them, that were born in 1833, 1839, and we've been trying with our genealogists to try to get proof that any of these are Civil War veterans. Because it gets very, very hard after a certain point in time when there's no more census reports or any kind of Social Security numbers to really prove who these veterans are. What we need to hope is, like, we go into a town and if we have a person's name and we see their name on a stone that's dedicated to Civil War veterans, or if we go like to Gettysburg and there's thousands of names, if we see their name there, then we know that he's a Civil War veteran.
The longest period of time that we've had a veteran abandoned was 58 years. And we interred him last September.
Andrew Fachette, Jr., United States Army, 1942 to 1946. On a shelf for 34 years.
It's difficult to present the eulogies, and that's based on all the information we can find about these veterans. And as I present a prayer prior to the interment and then read the eulogies of each of these veterans, it can become a very emotional time. It really is. And I've been told that, are you sure these people aren't your family? And I said, well, yeah, they're all family of God, you know. We're all brothers in arms.
Well, for one thing, as you know, the Vietnam War was a very unpopular war. Most of us came back. We weren't honored or congratulated for what we did in Vietnam. So we were sort of abandoned. And we feel that in regards to these veterans, they had the same fate. They've been abandoned. And that gives us a reason to go and find these cremains.
It's a 2-part phase. It could have been me, but it isn't, and it's out of respect. These guys, these veterans gave their life to give us the freedom we have today. And to not honor them by having a wall and their name on there is pretty poor. And to allow them to stay on shelves for 40, 50 years and not bury them is even more poor. I mean, the government, I know they have their hands full with other issues, but they spend millions of dollars going overseas looking for remains, bone fragments of veterans. We can go across the street to a funeral home and they're there. Every funeral home has them. So it's actually a matter of respect and treating our brothers with that dignity that they deserve and that they never got. And that's basically what this is all about. We're here to make sure that no veteran, if we could find them on the shelf, will be forgotten.